Influencers are everything. It's not just musicians and celebrities. Journalists are influencers now. The new media company formula is a big business guy and a star influencer journalist multiplied by some cheap money. Low interest rates and record stock prices mean there's a lot of money to play with. Last week, Ben Smith, former editor-in-chief of BuzzFeed, and Justin Smith, the CEO of Bloomberg Media, said they're starting a, quote, new kind of global news media company that serves unbiased journalism to a truly global audience. Sounds a lot like Vice, Bloomberg, or in the 80s CNN, but when money's cheap and you have the formula, there's nothing to lose. Mosh, I'd love to hear your take on this. You know, this comes after a lot of other media companies were founded by these new influencer journalists. You have Puck, The Information, Axios, Punchbowl News. Everyone's jumping ship from the big networks. You left CBS News too. How do you see this playing out?
It's interesting to kind of see this, see where this unfolds into, because right now the details are very scant. I don't know if you guys saw the New Yorker interview with Ben Smith on this, but they tried to get him to give any details whatsoever, and he gave no details on coverage area, size, format, cadence, size, anything whatsoever as to what this will be besides a venture that'll serve 200 million English-speaking, college-educated readers. Now, what we do know is there's a problem in the media, right? There's a lack of trust. Consumers are looking for unbiased news, so they're hitting the key points. It will be interesting, though, to see kind of where they find their niche. I think if you look most recently in the last couple of years, a lot of what you've seen in the news industry is picking a handful of creators, reporters, if you will, putting them together in some sort of confederation, commonwealth, if you will, and then letting them do their thing. That's the premise of Puck. That's what the couple of reporters from Punchbowl did. Axios tried to pick a handful of superstars, and then they added to that kind of, giving you bullet point news. And so that'll be interesting as kind of as the modern consumer consumes things, how are they going to cater to that? Because I don't think the world needs another, our former home, Bloomberg. They do a good job of being Bloomberg. You don't need another Bloomberg. You don't need another New York Times. So how do they do all of that? So right now, you two smart guys, Mr. and Mr. Smith, right, who've done some good things. And you would have said in a previous era, one of them runs Bloomberg. The other one is the New York Times media columnist, a job you can have for life. Why would you leave those jobs? But at the same time, it takes you back to the scene of Social Network where now I'm totally zoning on his name, says to a young Zuckerberg, why be a millionaire when you could be a billionaire? And I think that's the same thing going through the heads of journalists who are like, why am I sitting here being a reporter for somebody else when I can run my own media organization? And
the money's so cheap that it's like, if you get the formula of the star reporter with the business guy, you could raise a good amount of money if you want to do it, I guess. But a lot of people are just jumping ship to go on Substack, and there's that whole kind of trend. Last week we saw, even in the video journalism side, we've had Johnny Harris go to Bright Trip, and Cleo Abrams last week from Vox. She's going solo. That sort of is a little different. That's just kind of like, I'm going to create my own thing to live out my passion.
Influencers are the new creators, and their fans and their community are the new influencers, and they can spread the message. And it's a really exciting time because you can watch them create in real time. And there's so many tools for influencers like Substack, like Patreon, like all these other organizations, so that it's really conducive to create more and more of these kind of CEOs or creators or media hubs. And the platforms are very encouraging of it. They want more and more content. So it's become this kind of like feedback loop of more and more creators or more and more influencers turning into creators, and their fans galvanizing the message, and more tools to support it.
And the fans or in this case, the viewers and the readers are a key component here when it comes to news because of the distrust they have for major organizations. So one of the reasons you see this trend line happening is because the creators, the journalists, see that like their audience, that having that name, a brand under them doesn't have the cachet it once did. In fact, in some cases, it serves as an impediment to growing your audience. And being independent, people now trust individuals. They trust influencers. And the news media is no stranger to that. And so you're going to see more and more, but you're also seeing, Alex, like a divide between who's successful on Substack and those new platforms, and then folks who are going independent and not quite making it there. So you'll see, eventually we'll be talking in about 9 months about the trend of certain individuals going back to institutions, those who weren't able to make it. It'll be interesting to kind of see how this plays out.
Yeah, you saw like Ezra Klein do that. There's also like, most of these people are almost opinion columnists too. It's not like they're the ones breaking the big news. When I was a journalist at Bloomberg, it was like, that was all I was doing. I couldn't do anything else except try to find the information to do the story, to hold, power accountable. But like, I can't really see doing that if you also have to be your own COO and your own like salesperson.
There are limitations to what you can do when you decide to not just be a reporter anymore, but run your own media company. And I think that's probably the challenge that musicians are having too, to the previous conversation, which is, you now need to be competitive on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and Spotify and figure out your crypto strategy. And so it does require a larger team, but, larger reward, ideally it's an investment for a larger reward in the end.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like our videos and want to support the channel, please like and subscribe. You can also subscribe to our Substack newsletter for exclusive updates and find the audio version wherever you podcast. Thanks for watching.